The truth is, and Alex Ferguson said it many moons ago, championships are built on defence. And if you're keeping clean sheets and you've got talent on your side, you're going to win games.
And defensively, they are just so strong. We're tracking Arsenal this season against some of the best numbers that we've ever seen defensively in the Premier League.
Arsenal are more equipped, especially than my team, Liverpool, to win the Premier League this season the way it's going. I said a few weeks ago, and I won't change my mind on it, if Arsenal are going to win the league, it won't be Gyökeres coming in and making the difference. I never believe that. They will win the league by the back four, mainly the two centre-backs, the goalkeeper.
There was a time when Arsenal's defense was a punchline, when every long ball, every set piece felt like a ticking bomb waiting to explode. From the chaos of Mustafi and David Luiz to nights where even Burnley looked like Barcelona, the backline was fragile and the fans knew it. But not anymore. Fast forward to this season and Arsenal's defense has become something else entirely. Disciplined, ruthless, almost mechanical in its precision. 8 league games, 3 goals conceded, not a single goal allowed in Europe. Opponents aren't just losing to Arsenal, they can't even reach them. And yet, it wasn't always like this, because behind this terrifying wall of defenders lies a story of evolution. Years of rebuilding, mistakes, and a manager who turned vulnerability into power. This is why the new Arsenal defense is very, very scary. When Mikel Arteta walked through the doors at Arsenal on the 20th of December 2019, he didn't inherit a tidy project, he inherited a club in upheaval. The side that once prided itself on discipline and cohesion had drifted. By the time Arteta arrived, the team sat around 11th in the Premier League table and was leaking goals with troubling regularity. The numbers made the problem painfully plain. Under Unai Emery, Arsenal had conceded 51 Premier League goals in 2018-19, a tally that underlined persistent defensive frailty. The following season, the 2019-20 campaign, which would be disrupted and later completed amid the COVID-19 shutdowns, closed with Arsenal allowing 48 league goals. Those figures weren't just statistics, they were symptoms of a team lacking structure and identity. The backline had become a revolving door of inconsistent performances. Names like Shkodran Mustafi, Sokratis Papastathopoulos, David Luiz, Sead Kolasinac, and an often injured Hector Bellerin all featured, but the collective communication and cohesion were missing. Individually, some players still offered useful attributes: recovery pace, passing range, aggression, but there was no consistent defensive language being spoken across the team. Opponents rarely needed to be clever, they only needed to exploit the gaps. This is borne out by the season-by-season defensive numbers cited above. Arteta arrived having learned under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and his diagnosis was immediate. This was not a lack of talent so much as a lack of structure. He set out not to sign quick fixes, but to reprogram habits. The language he used in the dressing room and on the training pitch emphasized collective responsibility, every player part of the same defensive and attacking story, rather than isolated individuals reacting in the moment. This emphasis on collective structure and pressing triggers became a recurring theme in tactical analyses of his early tenure. Training at London Colney changed. Sessions became precise, repetition-focused, and concept-driven. Pressing triggers practiced until automatic, positional grids to fix distances and angles, and drills that forced players to defend and attack as a unit rather than as isolated actors. To hide weaknesses and to give players confidence, Arteta frequently used compact shapes, including a 3-4-3 or variations where the wingbacks and left-sided defenders would tuck in, a tactical choice picked apart by multiple analysts during that season. Tactical tweaks followed. Granit Xhaka, previously guilty of being isolated as a lone shield, was redeployed into a deeper or more disciplined pivot role at times, helping to link build-up and provide balance. Kieran Tierney, when fit, began showing the positional versatility that would become critical for Arteta, able to press forward as a left back, but also to tuck inside and function as a left-sided center presence in certain shapes. These reassignments were not miracles overnight, but they introduced a more coherent defensive geometry into Arsenal's game. The results were not instant, but they were visible. Across the disrupted 2019-20 campaign, Arsenal conceded 48 league goals, a numerical improvement that belied a larger cultural shift. Fewer wild swings, fewer total collapses, and a more organized defensive base. Crucially, the FA Cup run that summer crystallized that change. Arsenal upset Manchester City in the semi-final, a 2-0 victory at Wembley, and then beat Chelsea 2-1 in the final to lift the trophy on the 1st of August 2020. Those wins weren't merely results on a board, they were proof that Arteta's process could produce resilience resilience under pressure. There remained, of course, imperfections, individual errors, lapses of concentration, and the occasional collapse. But the culture had shifted, where once Arsenal had tried to outscore their defensive shortcomings, they had started to learn how to control space, to defend as a unit, and to build from the back with purpose. That tactical and cultural reset became the true foundation for everything that followed, the blueprint Arteta would refine in the summers that came next. When the celebrations of that FAA Cup victory faded, reality hit North London. Arsenal had lifted silverware, but they hadn't yet cured the disease beneath the surface. The defense had improved, but it was still fragile, patched together by momentum rather than muscle. Mikel Arteta knew it. Trophies can hide weakness, but they can't heal it. What Arsenal needed next wasn't inspiration, it was reconstruction. The summer of 2020 became the start of that rebuild. Arteta began to reshape the squad with ruthless clarity. Out went defenders who didn't fit his vision: Socrates Papastathopoulos, Shkodran Mustafi, and later David Luiz. Arsenal needed intelligence, composure, and chemistry. They needed defenders who could think before they tackle. Enter Gabriel Magalhães, signed from Lille in September 2020 for around £27 million. A left-footed center back with athleticism, aggression, and calm on the ball, Gabriel was everything Arsenal had been missing since the prime Laurent Koscielny days. His arrival gave balance, structure, and bravery to a back line that had lived in fear. Alongside him, Kieran Tierney, now fully fit, began to show his worth. No longer the fragile newcomer from Celtic, Tierney emerged as one of Arteta's silent leaders, a left back who defended like a warrior and attacked with conviction. His discipline allowed Arteta to experiment tactically, switching between a back four and a back three without losing stability. And though the 2020-21 season was rocky, Arsenal finished 8th. The numbers whispered progress. They conceded 39 goals, their best Premier League defensive record since 2015-16. The team looked harder to break, more structured, and more patient. The erratic end-to-end chaos of Emery's Arsenal had disappeared. In its place was a side learning to control danger. Behind the scenes, Arteta's influence was changing everything. Training sessions were intense and repetitive, focused on automatism, movements rehearsed until instinctive. The pressing shape became compact, distances between players shortened, and transitions tightened. Arsenal were not yet fluent, but the grammar of defensive football was being rewritten. Then came the summer of 2021, a defining turning point. Arsenal spent big, but not recklessly. Every signing was a puzzle piece with purpose. Ben White, signed from Brighton for £50 million, brought elegance and line-breaking passes from the back. Takehiro Tomiyasu from Bologna for around £15.5 million offered rare two-footed balance. A fullback who could invert into midfield or defend as a third center half. And Aaron Ramsdale, signed from Sheffield United in August 2021 for an initial £24 million, rising to around £30 million with add-ons, redefined what goalkeeping meant at Arsenal. Many questioned the price. Few question it now. His energy, communication, and distribution changed the entire rhythm of Arsenal's build-up. Arteta wasn't just collecting players, he was collecting profiles. He wanted a defense that could more, that could build from deep or withstand pressure, that could press high without fear of being exposed. And perhaps his smartest addition didn't even wear a kit. Nicholas Jover, appointed in July 2021 as Arsenal's set-piece coach from Manchester City. Under him, Arsenal transformed from vulnerable at corners to one of the most efficient sides in England on both ends of the pitch. What had once been a weakness became a weapon. By the end of the 2021/22 campaign, the results were mixed but meaningful. Arsenal conceded 48 goals, yes, but that number hid a deeper truth. They were the youngest team in the Premier League, still learning the structure Arteta demanded. Games were decided by inches, by immaturity, not incompetence. For the first time in years, fans could finally see a defensive plan, not just defensive hope. When you watched Arsenal that season, you could sense the fear returning to their opponents. The reckless optimism of the old attacking Arsenal was gone, replaced by a hard edge, a compactness, a discipline that said, we don't give chances anymore. Arteta was no longer the apprentice reading from Guardiola's book. He was now writing his own chapter, one built on control, coordination, and collective effort. The wall wasn't finished yet, but the blueprints were in place. And as the dust of those early seasons settled, one thing became clear. Arsenal were not just defending better, they were learning to defend like champions. By the summer of 2022, Arsenal's defensive vision was no longer theory. It was finally taking physical form. The blueprint that Mikel Arteta had been sketching for 2.5 years was now being built in real time, and every brick was being placed with purpose. The biggest addition wasn't a new signing, it was a return. William Saliba, after 3 loan spells in France, came home. Arsenal fans had been waiting for him since 2019, and when he finally stepped onto a Premier League pitch, he didn't just belong, he commanded. His debut at Selhurst Park was a revelation, composed under pressure, fearless in duels, and smooth in recovery. He made defending look effortless. Every clearance, every interception, every touch on the ball oozed calm authority. Beside him stood Gabriel Magalhães, now fully matured into a leader. Aggressive, physical, and dominant in the air, Gabriel became the enforcer to Saliba's elegance. Together, they formed the partnership Arsenal had been searching for since the days of Tony Adams and Sol Campbell. Alexander Zinchenko, signed from Manchester City in July 2022, Zinchenko was never a traditional fullback. He was Arteta's chess piece, a defender who could drift into midfield, help control possession, and give Arsenal numerical superiority in build-up. His inverted movement from left back reshaped Arsenal's 3-2 structure, allowing them to defend with the ball and transition seamlessly between attack and defense. For the first time in years, Arsenal weren't reacting to danger, they were preventing it. The numbers told the story. In the 2022/23 Premier League season, Arsenal conceded 43 goals. Not the fewest in the league, but it was the best defensive structure the club had displayed in a decade. The team spent most of the season at the top, defending with intelligence, pressing with precision, and controlling territory like a machine. Then came the turning point, the injury to William Saliba in March 2023. Without him, Arsenal's backline lost its rhythm, its balance, its confidence. And in those final months, the title slipped away. But even in disappointment, there was revelation. This team had shown that structure wins consistency, and consistency wins titles. Arteta's response was ruthless and visionary. The summer of 2023 became a masterclass in fine-tuning. Arsenal didn't just buy players, they upgraded their entire system. Declan Rice arrived from West Ham, not just as a defensive midfielder, but as the spine of Arteta's next evolution. His ability to cover space, break play, and progress the ball turned Arsenal's midfield shield into a fortress. He closed passing lanes before they opened and neutralized transitions before they started. Jerian Timber, signed from Ajax, brought versatility and composure, capable of playing anywhere across the back four. His early performances were sensational before a cruel ACL injury cut his season short, but his arrival symbolized a new standard, defenders who could think, move, and create. Then came David Raya, on loan from Brentford, a goalkeeper whose calmness under pressure elevated Arsenal's possession game to a new level. His ability to draw in the press, pick lines between forwards, and command the penalty area made him the perfect fit for Arteta's meticulous structure, and the results were historic. In the 2023/24 Premier League season, Arsenal conceded just 29 goals, the fewest in the league, and their best defensive record in over 20 years. They kept 18 clean sheets, dominated aerial duels, and finished top in nearly every defensive metric across Europe. Set pieces, once a weakness, became an advantage under Nicolas Jover. Arsenal scored more from dead balls than any other Premier League side and conceded the fewest from them. By now, the defensive rhythm was pure symphony. Ben White had evolved into a dynamic right back, part of a back three in possession, part of the press in transition. Gabriel bullied strikers into submission. Saliba defended space like it belonged to him, and Rice, sitting at the base, gave them permission to dominate without fear. Arsenal no longer needed to play end-to-end football. They could suffocate games. They could win 1-0 and look in complete control. Every duel, every header, every tackle was followed by composure. There was no panic, only precision. From chaos came control. From doubt came dominance. In just 2 seasons, Arsenal's defense had transformed from an anxious, error-prone backline into a mechanical masterpiece, built on chemistry, discipline, and intellect. They no longer defended deep, they defended high. They no longer feared transitions. They neutralized them before they began. And the Emirates, once a playground for visiting strikers, had become a fortress of silence, where chances came to die. This was no longer a rebuild, it was a revolution. And as 2024 arrived, Arsenal were no longer chasing the elite, they were the elite. Something special is happening at Arsenal, and this time, it isn't about flashy goals or last-minute drama. It's about control. Cold, calculated, suffocating control. 8 league matches in, 3 goals conceded, 0 goals allowed in the Champions League. The numbers don't just tell a story, they tell a warning. Arsenal's defense isn't just the best in England. It's operating at a level that looks unsustainable, yet somehow is sustainable. Because this isn't luck, it's engineering. Look at the XG charts. Arsenal's expected goals against XGA sits among the lowest in Europe. In simple terms, they're not only stopping shots, they're preventing them from ever being taken. When teams face Arsenal, they barely get into the box. Even Liverpool and Manchester City, masters of chaos, struggle to create clear chances. And when Arsenal's attack slows down, their defense simply refuses to break. At the heart of it all are two men who have turned defending into an art form: William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhães. Saliba is still the calmest center back in world football. He reads passes before they're played, wins duels without fouling, and glides into recovery runs like a dancer in a fight. His presence is so commanding that even world-class forwards hesitate before taking him on. Gabriel, on the other hand, is fire, aggressive, fearless, dominant in the air. When he steps out of the line to engage, it's with full conviction, forcing strikers into rushed touches or backwards passes. Their chemistry is near perfect. When Gabriel steps up, Saliba covers. When Saliba drifts right to close a lane, Gabriel anchors the left. They move like they're wired to each other's heartbeat. Behind them, David Raya has become the calm conductor. His distribution isn't just functional, it's tactical. Every pass from the back is part of the build-up chain, designed to draw opponents in and open spaces. But more importantly, he's fearless under pressure. Arsenal no longer panic when pressed. They invite it. On the flanks, Jurriën Timber and Ricardo Calafiori redefine what fullbacks are supposed to be. Timber isn't flashy, but he's brutally effective. He tucks in beside Saliba during build-up, forming a back three that's almost impossible to penetrate, while still offering overlapping support for Bukayo Saka when the game demands it. Calafiori, on the other hand, is the perfect hybrid. Part defender, part playmaker. Once raw and rash, he's now matured into a controlled yet daring presence on the left. His aerial duels are among the best in the team. His timing nearly flawless. When he pushes forward, Declan Rice or Zubimendi drops into cover, and the structure remains unbroken. In Rice and Zubimendi, oh, these two guys, they are the glue, the shield, the anchor. Every world-class defense has one, and Arsenal finally have theirs. They are not just tackling, they are reading patterns before they form. They close half spaces, block passing lanes, and win back possession in zones where danger begins. Their positioning allows Arsenal to push their fullbacks high, knowing they will always be there to sweep up. Then there's Ben White easing back from injury, and Lewis Skelly quietly reliable when called upon. Two players who could walk into most teams in Europe, yet here, they're part of the rotation. That's how deep this Arsenal defense runs. But what truly separates Arsenal from the rest is composure. They defend like chess players, not warriors. No panic, no recklessness, just structure and trust. Everyone knows their zone, their trigger, their line. Whether it's closing down a winger, shifting to block a channel, or springing a counter, every action feels rehearsed. The aerial dominance is frightening too. Gabriel and Saliba win almost everything. Calafiori has improved his leap and timing, and even Timber, despite not being tall, has an extraordinary knack for winning headers in wide duels. Arsenal don't just clear the ball, they control where it lands. Every header, every second ball is calculated to fall to a midfielder, restarting the cycle of possession. And this is why teams can't find a way through. Even when Arsenal's attack misfires, the defense simply refuses to blink. The XG conceded is microscopic, the passing lanes vanish, and the press triggers force opponents into long balls they can't win. This is not a defense built on luck or form. It's a structure that works under pressure, under rotation, under fatigue. It is sustainable because it's logical. Every player is world-class in their lane, and every mistake has a safety net. Other teams have stars. Arsenal have systems. And when a system like this starts clicking, conceding 3 goals in 2 months, topping defensive metrics across Europe, you don't call it form, you call it fear. Because right now, Arsenal's defense isn't just the best in the Premier League, it's the standard every other team is now trying and failing to reach. There's an old saying in football, one whispered through generations of title winners and echoed in dressing rooms that smell like champagne and sweat. Attack wins you games. Defense wins you titles. Those were Sir Alex Ferguson's words. And right now, no team in the world embodies that truth more than Arsenal Football Club. Because this version of Arsenal isn't just exciting, it's efficient. They don't chase case, they control it. They don't rely on luck, they manufacture inevitability. In the Premier League's most unpredictable era, where pressing systems burn out, schedules crush legs and chaos reigns supreme, Arsenal have discovered the most sustainable weapon of all, defensive consistency. The comparisons are impossible to ignore. Mourinho's Chelsea, 2004 to 2005, conceded just 15 goals all season, setting a record that's stood untouched for 2 decades. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, 2017 to 19, built dynasties on structured dominance and controlled territory, and now Arteta's Arsenal stand at that same crossroads. 8 games in, 3 goals conceded, and an XG against so low it's almost academic. The data points to something extraordinary. Arsenal face fewer shots per 90 minutes than any English side. Their opponents average less than 1 big chance per game. The defensive block remains compact, coordinated, and calm no matter the situation. Home or away, winning or drawing, first minute or 90th. But what makes this story different is how Arsenal defend. This isn't the parked bus of the early 2000s or the rigid back four of old. It's something far more complex, a fluid, dynamic system that can press high, drop deep, and rotate effortlessly without losing shape. When Saliba steps out, Zubamendi tucks in. When Timber pushes forward, Gabriel shifts across. When Calafiori inverts into midfield, Raya acts as the extra outfield player, dictating build-up under pressure. It's defense as choreography, every player moving in perfect counterbalance to the other, and that's what makes it sustainable. There's no over-reliance on one man. It's the collective geometry that wins them games. The evolution is philosophical too. Arsenal, once mocked for being fragile and emotional, now defend like machines with human precision. Yet beneath that precision lies something human. Belief in each other, belief in structure, belief that clean sheets aren't luck, but discipline rewarded. It's that belief that's taken Arsenal from conceding 51 goals under Emery to being on pace to concede fewer than 20 under Arteta, from being a team known for collapsing late to one that now suffocates opponents from start to finish. And when you look around Europe, from Madrid to Munich, no other club defends as a single organism the way Arsenal do. Their defensive record in both the Premier League and Champions League reflects not a moment, but a model, a design that could dominate for years. But there's still one mountain left to climb. Silverware. Because history doesn't remember statistics, it remembers trophies. And for Arteta's Arsenal, that's the final step to turn the numbers, the metrics, the structure into a title. They're built for it now. Every sign, every pattern, every metric points to inevitability. And if football remains faithful to its oldest truth that defense wins championships, then Arsenal's moment is no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because in an era defined by chaos, Arsenal have rediscovered the oldest secret in the game. The best attack is a defense that never breaks. And right now, Mikel Arteta's Arsenal don't just look ready to win the league, they look ready to make history.